Okay, buckle up because what I'm about to tell you isn't the fairy tale Meghan Markle wanted the world to know. Long before the tiaras, the palaces, and the royal drama, there was a chapter of her life that's been quietly, no, strategically, buried for decades. And now, whispers from people close to her ex-husband Trevor Engelson are starting to make it impossible to ignore. See, Trevor, the Hollywood producer who later married Meghan, once told friends that there was something missing, a piece of her past that never quite fit. He'd ask questions, notice inconsistencies, and feel this subtle, nagging suspicion that Meghan's timeline didn't quite add up. And he was right, because hidden beneath all the sparkle and reinvention was a secret marriage. One that didn't just fade away, but was deliberately erased. Let's rewind. It's 1994. The place? Chicago. The girl? A young Meghan Markle. Restless, ambitious, full of dreams way too big for the life she had. And the boy? Not a prince, not a celebrity, not even close. His name was Joe Giuliano, a quiet, kind-hearted Chicago guy from a warm, deeply traditional Italian-American family. Joe was the kind of man who said grace before meals and believed that love was about roots, not wings. Meghan, on the other hand, was already dreaming of stages, cameras, and freedom. But for a while, those differences didn't matter. They were young, wild, in love, or at least they thought they were. So one night in the impulsive whirlwind of youth, they ran away. Not for fun, not for rebellion, for a wedding. Picture this, a tiny Las Vegas chapel, flickering candles, no guests, no photographers, just two teenagers whispering forever promises into the dim light. It should have been romantic. It should have been beautiful. But that forever barely lasted a season. Within months, things started to crumble. Joe's family, sweet, traditional, very close-knit, welcomed Meghan at first. They opened their doors, their hearts, their dinner table. But soon, little things didn't sit right. Her stories would change, sometimes about school, sometimes about her age. One day she'd say she graduated in 1994, another day she'd hint she was older. Documents didn't quite line up, and Joe's mother started to notice. It wasn't one huge lie, it was lots of tiny ones. Little shifts, small contradictions, told with a smile that made you question if truth even mattered to her. And then it hit them. Maybe Meghan wasn't a mystery, maybe she was a strategy. The Giulianos were old school, family, faith, loyalty. These weren't just words. Every Sunday they prayed together, cooked together, lived as one. Then Meghan arrived, and suddenly conversations turned to Hollywood, auditions, opportunity, escape. At first, it sounded like innocent ambition, but the family started to feel it. It wasn't dreaming, it was calculated. She didn't want roots, she wanted launch pads. Joe's father once told her during dinner, "Marriage is about roots, not wings." Meghan just smiled, but her eyes were already somewhere else. Soon, she was skipping dinners, ignoring family calls, spending more and more time in Los Angeles. What the Giulianos saw wasn't rebellion, it was rejection. The home that once rang with laughter turned cold. Even Joe, so full of love at first, started to feel like a ghost in his own marriage. By early 1995, the whole thing was hanging by a thread. Meghan was living half in Chicago, half chasing auditions out west. Then, bam, the news that shocked everyone. Meghan was pregnant. Now, for most families, that's joy. For the Giulianos, it was panic. They were proud, private, deeply Catholic. Scandal wasn't something they tolerated, and raising a baby in the middle of chaos, unthinkable. They stayed up nights whispering around the dinner table, praying for answers. And finally, they made a decision that would define everything. The Giulianos would raise the baby. Meghan would move on. No court case, no records, just a quiet agreement sealed with heartbreak and silence. That summer, 1995, a baby girl was born. No headlines, no photos, no birth records under Meghan's name. To the outside world, she didn't exist. Neighbors noticed a baby sometimes at Giuliano family gatherings. Dark curls, big brown eyes, a bright smile. They thought she was a relative's child. No one asked questions. No one dared. And Meghan, she was gone. Off to college, to auditions, to Hollywood. The Giulianos saw it for what it was. Not ambition, but betrayal. They had offered her love, faith, a home. She gave them distance, secrets, and silence. The marriage ended quietly. No drama, no public record, just a legal annulment that vanished into locked files. It was like she'd been scrubbed clean of the entire event. The Giulianos stayed silent. Meghan reinvented herself. But then, something eerie happened. The Giuliano home, once alive with the smell of fresh pasta and Sunday laughter, went still. The porch light went dark, curtains stayed closed. The phone line disconnected, and one morning, they were gone. A moving truck pulled up. By nightfall, the house was empty. No forwarding address, no explanation. It was like the entire family had disappeared off the face of the earth. Some said they'd moved to Italy to start over. Others whispered they changed their names to protect the little girl. Whatever the truth was, one thing was certain. The Giulianos never came back. The story of Meghan's first marriage. Gone, erased, buried. And for years, the silence was airtight. For nearly 30 years, not a single word about that secret marriage was spoken. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed it whole. But of course, secrets never really die, do they? They just wait, quietly, patiently, until someone finally dares to dig them up. Over time, the whispers began again. Not from tabloids, not from paparazzi, but from people who once sat at those Giuliano dinner tables. People who remembered that house before it went dark. They started murmuring over coffee and Sunday strolls, voices low but trembling. One of them said something that made everyone freeze. "We didn't hide her secret to protect a lie," the neighbor whispered. "We hid it to protect a child." That one sentence, it changed everything. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was a confession. Because what if the story everyone had dismissed as rumor, the teenage Vegas wedding, the baby, the family's sudden disappearance, wasn't fiction at all? What if it had all happened exactly as whispered, only hidden so deeply no one ever dared to look? And if that's true, where was the child now? Whispers turned into stories, stories into theories. People claimed that the little girl born in 1995 had grown up somewhere far from Chicago, maybe overseas, maybe even under a different name. Some said she'd been told she belonged to another branch of the family, others insisted she'd started to uncover the truth herself. One rumor said that, as an adult, she'd stumbled upon old letters, tucked into a drawer yellowed with time. Letters with handwriting that didn't match the names she knew. A photo of a woman whose face looked hauntingly familiar. Her smile, her eyes, that unmistakable spark. And when she asked her relatives who that woman was, they just looked at each other and said the same 3 words over and over: "It's better forgotten." But how long can something that big stay buried? Those who once knew the Giulianos said the girl grew into a strong, confident woman, sharp like her mother, gentle like her father. She carried herself with quiet grace but an unshakable fire in her eyes. Some even say she went back to that same Las Vegas chapel years later. She stood there, under the same flickering lights, trying to feel the echoes of 2 young lovers who once believed love could conquer everything. And as she stood there, the air heavy with history, she realized the truth doesn't stay buried forever, it waits. Now jump forward to the present. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, the global icon, the woman who shook the royal family to its core, is living her new chapter in California, far from Buckingham Palace, far from all the crowns and courtiers. But somewhere out there, in the background of all that sunshine and royal exit drama, her past has started to stir again. And it all came back to one man, Trevor Engelson. Trevor had loved Meghan once too. He knew her before the titles, before the palace, before the global obsession. He'd seen both sides, the charm and the coldness, the dreamer and the strategist. And years after their own marriage fell apart, Trevor reportedly told a few close friends something that sent chills through them. "There was always something she never told me," he said quietly. Something that didn't add up. At first, no one thought much of it. Maybe he meant her Hollywood past or her old acting days. But when people started connecting dots, the missing pieces, the erased records, the whispered marriage, it all started to sound like something far, far bigger. It wasn't just about a secret wedding. It was about a life Meghan had worked her entire career to bury. Imagine realizing the woman the world calls Duchess might also be the mother you never knew existed, the mother who left, the mother who built an empire on starting over. But can you blame her for searching, for wanting answers? Those who knew the Giulianos say she's not angry, just curious, like she's trying to fill a void that's been echoing her whole life. Meanwhile, Meghan stays silent. Not a word, not a hint, not even a denial, because maybe deep down she knows that silence is safer than truth. And maybe Trevor Engelson's quiet remark, "Something never made sense," is the crack that will finally let that truth slip through. If this secret really did happen, it explains everything. The mystery around Meghan's early years, the abrupt shifts in her personal history, even the way she guards her past like it's made of glass. She's spent her life mastering reinvention, from Chicago girl to Hollywood actress, from Hollywood actress to royal duchess, from royal duchess to California celebrity mom. Every chapter more glittering than the last, and each one built on the ashes of the one before. But the thing about ashes is, they never really disappear. They leave a trace, a scent, a smudge that no amount of fame can scrub clean. So when people ask, Who was Meghan before the crown? Maybe the answer isn't found in tabloids or red carpets. Maybe it's buried somewhere in Chicago, in that quiet home that vanished one night, in a sealed court file, in the laughter of a little girl who was never supposed to exist. Because the truth has a strange way of haunting those who try to outrun it. Maybe that's why this story refuses to die. Why every few years the whispers resurface, louder, bolder, more detailed. Because deep down, the world senses there's something missing in the fairy tale, something unfinished, and maybe that something is a daughter. The Giuliano's silence has always been their shield. They chose exile over exposure, peace over scandal, but the world outside their quiet circle, it's changing. People are talking. Old neighbors, old friends, even distant relatives who remember glimpses of a young Meghan with a wedding band she never mentioned again. And maybe, just maybe, that's why Trevor's confession matters so much now. Because he didn't need to name names or show proof, just a single sentence. Something never added up. That's all it took, because when it comes to Meghan Markle, even silence speaks volumes. And so the story continues, not with headlines, not with royal drama, but with echoes from a time before fame, before crowns, before the world knew her name. A time when Meghan wasn't a duchess, wasn't an actress, wasn't a headline. She was just a girl in love, standing in a Las Vegas chapel, promising forever, and then walking away like it never happened. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real story the world was never supposed to hear. Because no matter how far she runs or how bright her spotlight shines, the past has a way of following. And in Meghan's shadow, somewhere out there, walks the echo of the life she left behind. A family that vanished, a child who grew up searching, and a truth that refuses to stay buried.